On last night's program, we had discussed about how in 2022, this is going to be the year of the downgrade. And a lot of females are going to find themselves caught in that system here. So it's time to start readjusting your expectations so that you don't find yourself without a chair when the music stops. Otherwise, I intended it to be an otherwise uneventful, unremarkable program in that regard. But then there was a call that happened, and I really should have known it was coming. There was a call that happened last night, and rather than tell you about it, I'm going to go ahead and just replay that for you here. There was a young woman who called in, and you can hear for yourselves what she had to say.
Honesty and truth.
Well, slow down.
I'm a little nervous.
Well, that's perfectly fine. Slow down. Do you have a degree?
Yes.
In what?
I have a bachelor's in political science.
A bachelor's in political science. And what do you know about political science?
Yes. I know the game of, I feel like political science is like the art of storytelling and networking with individuals to get what you want. It's an art of war.
Okay. Who's the president of the United States?
Who's the president of the United States? I don't know. It could be Trump. I don't know if it's Biden until he's the president.
Okay, let me try this again. Who is the president of the United States? Miss Bachelor's in Political Science.
Currently, the media is telling us Biden is the president of the United States.
Okay. And who is the vice president?
The black female, I choose not to say her name.
Okay. Why don't we take a stab at it
I have
anyway?
mixed feelings about her.
Why don't we take a stab at it anyway?
Miss Harris.
Miss Harris. Okay. And what did Miss Harris do before she became vice president?
She was a district attorney. She was a district attorney in California.
Is that all?
I'm nervous, Jason. You put me on the spot.
What did Joe Biden do before he became president?
He was a VP.
Under whom?
Barack Obama.
And
I feel like I'm being tested.
And what did he do before he was vice president?
He held a political position in Delaware before he became vice president.
A political position in Delaware. There are literally 200 political positions you can hold in Delaware. What was he before he became vice president?
Jason, why are you putting me on the spot?
So this was the young lady who called in last night. First she said she was 21, then she said she was 31. I looked at her pictures, looks closer to 41, but all right. She was complaining about the quality of men that she's able to get. She was complaining about the quality of men that she has access to. And everybody, make sure you hit the likes and the shares on this, because this is an important discussion to have from somebody who's actually competent about this. You've heard from the rest. It's time to hear from the source about this. So this young woman was complaining about the quality of men she has access to and things not popping off like she wants, and she's not getting the types of responses that she would like. So I went ahead and sat her down and said, okay, let's you and I have a conversation about this and see exactly what we're dealing with here. And lo and behold, you heard how it went. You heard how the conversation went. Just that quickly. And it really illustrates for you that a lot of women today have an outrageously exaggerated sense of self-worth and a completely unrealistic view of how smart they are, how capable they are, how ready they are. And I know this sounds real cringe for you all right now, but she's a woman who claims to have a degree in political science and yet is utterly unsure about politics or the science thereof. But as bad as that was, you haven't heard the worst yet. It gets worse. Political position in Delaware. There are literally 200 political positions you can hold in Delaware. What was he before he became vice president?
Jason, why you put me on the spot?
Because I want to make a point to you here. You called me up and I'm doing this to you. I'm doing this for you to be beneficial to you. You called up talking about the standards that you have that you claim that men are not meeting. And what I'm doing is I'm checking to see if you are being realistic with yourself about what these standards that you claim you have actually are. Because if you're going to tell me that you want to hold, that the men are not able to hold intellectual conversations, I need to be able to see if you can actually hold one. Because you might not be,
have to be political
because you might not be, you have a whole degree in political science. If you can't hold an intellectual conversation about something you have a degree in, what the hell have you been doing with your life? And the fact that you're even questioning that, what I'm saying is you have unrealistic standards, ma'am. You went to school for political science. What I'm talking about right now isn't even political science. It's basic civics. This is basic civics. I don't have a degree in political science, but I know all of these things. And you're sitting here struggling and you have a degree in political science, and yet you claim, according to you, that you're having difficulty locating men who can hold an intellectual conversation, and you're not even able to hold a conversation about politics. You said that that's what you're looking for, and clearly you're not finding it.
I say that's something that I like.
Okay, are you able to find a plenty of it?
Yes, I would say so.
Now you heard how she stumbled with that. Yes. Are you able to find plenty of these intellectual conversations? Now she's disputing what she said earlier. Are you able to find plenty of it? Yeah. All right. That's strange. That's not the way that you were coming across earlier. You were coming across as if that were an issue, finding that was an issue.
No, I didn't define it as an issue. I stated that's something that I crave.
Okay, but why are you craving it? Shouldn't you already have it? Now you're claiming you have it, so which is it? Do you already have access to the type of men that you want, or you don't? Because you called in saying that you don't.
I have. Okay, Jason.
Do you have access to the type of men that you desire, or do you not?
I think I do.
You think you do, so you don't know you do, but you think you do.
When you made the analogy about the legs, maybe there might be other legs.
Okay. Do you have? Are you currently romantically involved with the type of man that you want to be?
I would say yes.
Okay. How long have you been with this gentleman?
It's been fairly new.
Fairly new. How long have you been with this gentleman?
I would say about a month and a half.
You've been with him a month and a half. How old is he?
Yeah. He's 45.
He's 45 years old. So you are allegedly 31, though you look closer to 41. And he is 45.
Yes.
And where is he from?
He's from New York.
So this is a gentleman that you met on Tinder.
Yes.
Okay. 45-year-old gentleman from Tinder, which means that you have absolutely no way whatsoever of validating anything, and yet you literally just told us that you are in a serious relationship with him after a month.
I didn't say, you said romantic.
Okay. You are seriously romantically involved. You're seriously romantically involved with him after a month.
Dating.
Okay, so in other words, you just hooking up with a dude, but you don't actually.
What do you mean by hooking up?
You don't actually have any serious prospects.
Just dating right now.
Okay, so you are not.
Is it supposed to be serious?
Contrary to what contrary to how you originally characterized it, You are not actually seriously involved with the type of man that you want to be.
No.
You claimed you were. You claimed you were when I asked that, which is why you said, well, I've been talking with a guy now for a month. But you are not
Jason,
actually.
I can't hear you clearly.
You are hearing me just fine.
You.
You are hearing me just fine. You are not actually, contrary to what you said, you are not actually involved with the type of guy that you want to be involved with. You are not actually involved with them. You're not. So, as you said, the reason that you called me was because, Jason, I am not getting the type of attention or feedback or response from the kind of guys I want to be. I'm interested in intellectual conversation, and I don't attract those kind of men. Well, I think I found out what the problem there is, so you're going to want to start with yourself first. She claimed to be 21. Okay, we got other issues here. She claimed to be slim thick. I see slim thick is kind of missing. On a scale of 1 to 10, she claims to be an 8. She might want to revisit those things. So what I am saying is that I think right now where you're at, you are doing very well with the Amazon delivery driver. I think that's very, very good for you there. And
wow.
Most of them have very in-depth conversations. I should know because they're all on their cell phones when they're delivering stuff. So certainly they have the gift of gab in that area there. You don't.
No, Jason, why is it so harsh?
Okay, let me get something straight here. Why is that harsh?
The Amazon delivery guy?
Okay, what do you do for a living?
I'm a receptionist.
Okay, so let me get this straight. You are a receptionist who is attempting to look down on a delivery driver? Are you serious?
I said, wow. Why would you?
No, you just said that was. You just said that was harsh.
Guy.
Okay, because that's where the reception. That's exactly where you are as a receptionist. That's what you qualify for. That is where you are. But you have fantasies that you qualify for way higher than you actually do. And what I'm saying is that you are a regular. Some folks like to say average. But you are a typical female, and contrary to what you're telling yourself, you qualify for the average guy. And there's nothing wrong with that. The only thing that's wrong with it is you fantasize to yourself that you qualify for much higher. So, going into 2022, it's time for us to have a brutally frank discussion about unrealistic expectations, because that phone call was the epitome of it, and it dovetailed wonderfully with what we've been trying to discuss here right now. You can't get to a destination if your destination doesn't actually exist. That's the problem. You can't claim a seat on the train if there isn't a seat on the train for you. That is all. You can't claim one. So with that being the case, it's a real problem. And in her case, she articulated and expressed basically what the big issue is right now. If you want to know why it is most of your females are single, it is because they are fantasizing. Well, what exactly are they fantasizing about? They're fantasizing about something right about here. This is pretty much what they're fantasizing about right here. That it doesn't matter where in life they are, that is irrelevant, that there is a baller, there is an affluent man who is going to Calgon take me away and whisk them off to a life of leisure and idle treatment. And this is essentially what they're all waiting in line for. And this is why I told you all that the reason why your red pill folks can't really help you all with this is because they can't actually articulate what the issue is. Fellas, the most females are average, which is the definition of average, but the average working class female has utter contempt for the average working class male. Hell, even the guys who are at the higher end of working class, upper working class, if you will. Fellas who are making above the median income. Median income in America is $50,000 a year. Fellas who are making $60,000 or $70,000. Your female peers actually have contempt for you, which is exactly what that phone call illustrates. That in this day and age, your female counterparts, the females on your level, are telling themselves that it is beneath them to be with someone on their level, and that it is on their level to be with someone who is way out of their league. And this is why the epidemic of getting flued out, laid on, run through, and sent back is where it is today. Because the women will tell you that they won't settle. That's what they're telling you. They're not going to settle. And in reality, what they end up doing is they end up settling for a fantasy. Is what they end up settling for. They end up settling for that. They end up settling for something that doesn't exist. Now, I am going to say here that part of male conversations kind of feed into this, though. Guys, we got to be honest. Part of male conversations feed into this. Because, for example, you can't tell the females that, well, you can be the chick working the drive-through window at Five Guys and still be eligible for a man of means. You can still be eligible for a guy in the top 10%. Because that's feeding into female fantasy. Females wish to believe that they are eligible for all their hopes and dreams with absolutely no value added, no extra work on their part. So when fellas get on the internet, get online, or take the stuff they heard online offline and say those things with no context, that a chick can sit up here and be the waitress at Olive Garden, and next thing you know, find herself living, this crazy lifestyle or whatever. Just understand that feeds into female fantasy. That's the kind of thing they want to hear because they're in their heads. They're saying, "Yep, that's right, sure is, absolutely." So, fellas, remember when you hear people say this online and then you go back and repeat it, you're actually feeding into it, whether you thought you were or not. You're actually feeding into it. Because they want to believe I can be a CNA, I can be a nail tech, I can be a receptionist, and we are all equally eligible for the same producer, for the same peak value man. We're all eligible, equally eligible for him. Not just we're all eligible, we are all equally eligible. Then they start looking at their own life experiences, and what they will tell themselves then, and here's where things get really crazy. What they will tell themselves then is, well, I was with a guy who was making $50,000. Why can't I get a guy who's making $130,000, $150,000? I just need to expand my horizons. You keep hearing that statement. So in other words, the females are saying the only reason that I didn't get a guy who was above that level is because I accepted a guy who was below that level. You accepted what the best you could get is the real thing. And yes, we are going to have a program that I'm going to be dealing with here, specifically titled, He's the Best You Can Do. And a lot of females not going to like that, but tonight's program is really a primer on that. That guy is the best you can do. And you are going to waste and squander a whole bunch of years chasing this Calgon fantasy. Beware of females who have a cell phone welded to their hand or to their ear. Beware of females who are constantly looking at games and apps, watching TV. Beware females who spend more time engaged in entertainment and fantasy worlds than being firmly grounded in the real one. Because the more time they spend with the cell phone, the less time they spend in rational reality. And as a result, what they'll end up doing is they'll end up seeing a bunch of things They'll end up seeing a bunch of things and seeing a bunch of pictures and telling themselves, this is my potential life. This is me right here. This is me. I can have that. I can do that. I saw it on Instagram. Therefore, the pictures you see are of actual vehicles and actual women. Therefore, I am equally eligible for that. And that's not reality, and that's not real. It's not reality, and it's not real. You know, I like to quote people. The writer John Steinbeck, yes, I quote Steinbeck a lot also. Steinbeck once said that the reason that socialism never took off in America is because most of the proletariat, the working class people, most of them fantasize and view themselves as temporarily embarrassed millionaires. Everybody is sitting around in America telling themselves that they're going to be the next millionaire. They're going to be the next person living the high life. And so they need to protect the millionaire class because one day they are going to be one of them. They don't for a moment give a single thought to how to get there. The amount of work and effort required of it, that doesn't enter the equation. Well, guess what? That is the female population of today. Ladies, I gotta be brutally honest with you here. Usually I'm sitting there beating on the fellas about this, but ladies, I'm helping you out here. The majority of the female population, particularly the black female population, they fantasize to themselves that they're not poor. They fantasize to themselves that they're not struggling. They fantasize to themselves that they chose the situation that they are in, and if I chose the situation that I'm in, then I am also equally empowered to choose to alter it. No, you're not. You are not temporarily embarrassed millionaires. You are permanent residents of the working class. And what you need to do is to instead focus on how to enhance your situation where you are to the best of your ability, rather than indulging in fantasies. In the chat room, somebody said, what is Calgon? We're dating ourselves here. You got Google. Do yourself a favor. Google is your friend, at least some of the time. They spend so much of their time looking at entertainment. They spend so much of their time staring at celebrities that they actually start identifying with the celebrities. It's like Stockholm Syndrome. It's like Stockholm Syndrome. If you want to know where it's coming from, that's where it's coming from. You are dealing with a mutation of Stockholm Syndrome. That they spent so much time staring at females doing better than them, staring at people doing better than them, or at least people who rented a bunch of stuff to give the appearance that they're doing better than them, that they have now told themselves, I am one of them. Ladies, you can't expect a man to invest in somebody who has had a break with reality. You can't expect that. Fellas, if I'm telling the truth, give me a thumbs up and hit my likes for me. My haters are trying to keep my likes down. Hit my likes for me. Let them go ahead and know that this is a place that's dealing in the reality of these discussions, not hyperbole. What we are dealing with today is a social media Stockholm Syndrome that is feeding into whatever unrealistic fantasy that they want, and then they get to graft themselves onto it. And it doesn't help. I was reading an article a couple of days ago that said in 2021, in the midst of a global pandemic that was creating an unprecedented supply shortage. In the middle of a global pandemic with an unprecedented supply shortage. They were saying that last year, 2021, in the middle of a supply shortage and a global pandemic, Rolls-Royce sold a record number of vehicles last year. While you're hearing that nobody can build enough cars and everybody's just way behind and there's a semiconductor shortage and nobody can build as many cars as they want to, Rolls-Royce sold over 5,000 cars last year. In the middle of the global pandemic, in the middle of a supply shortage, in the middle of people's money being funny and jobs messed up and everything else, Rolls-Royce has sold a record number of vehicles. Last year was their record. What does that tell you about the population? What does that tell you about how people are spending money? What does that tell you? That tells you that you're going to see more Rolls Royces on the road than you've ever seen in your life. You are going to see more Rolls Royces on the road than you've ever seen in your life. And as a result, I am telling you, you are going to see more females chasing dreams and chasing fantasies than you have ever seen. The number of ultra exotic cars correlates directly to the number of females who will be chasing dreams. The more these vehicles are seen, the more they have a chance to see them in real life and get to appreciate them with their own eyes, the more you're going to see females chasing it. That is what you're going to see. So there are more people out there willing to extend themselves to get these ultra exotics. And as a result, there will be more people that they can market themselves to as a result. And the epidemic of crazy, unrealistic expectations is going to go through the roof. It's already bad right now. It's going to get even worse. It's going to get even worse because Rolls Royces are a bespoke item. Rolls Royce isn't even an exotic item. It's a bespoke item, which means specifically customized to each individual customer. This is beyond luxury. This is beyond ultra luxury. This is beyond exotic, or at least it's on the far end of exotic. This is bespoke. This is custom tailored for each individual customer. So you're now going to have a more ubiquitous, look it up. You're now going to have a more commonplace number of these vehicles on the road. They're going to be more common than they've been, which means there will be more opportunities to see them and witness them in real life with their own eyes, which means as a result, more people than ever are going to be impressed by it. And as a result, they will start saying to themselves, you know what? I could get one of those. Or at least I should have one of those. And it's not realistic. Even if you take into account how many they sold, 5,500 cars, please. 5,500. There's not enough to go around. And even if there were, the people who have them are looking for the best of the best. That car is the best of the best. They're looking for the best of the best. And that's where we run into trouble at. If you're a female who looks like an 86 Hyundai, no. If you're thinking about a Rolls Royce, you gotta look like a Rolls Royce. Your expectations are unrealistic. You and the car need to match. Otherwise, you and the car will never meet. Active fantasy lives. And a fantasy life, I'm not sure if it serves a purpose or not. I guess everybody should have aspirations. I guess everyone should. But this is where it gets unhealthy. It's unhealthy when you're taking a look in the mirror and you don't see a Rolls Royce, and yet you are telling yourself that you are next in line to get one. And not only are you next in line to get one, but you are going to make it very, very clear that these average dudes need to get the hell out your way. These average guys need to get out of the way so he can clear the lane so that you can get to the kind of fella that you deserve to be with. So we need this average guy to get out the way so that you can actually get at the guy you deserve to be with and that you are entitled to be with. Meanwhile, the one that you actually have the ability to be with, you're going to lose. Unrealistic expectations are a self-sabotaging mechanism. And it used to be that folks told their daughters what they could realistically expect. It used to be that if you were a chick sitting at size 16, your family would laugh when you said dumb things. Doesn't happen anymore. Why? Grandma is size 22, mama size 18, the daughter is size 14 and rising. 3 or 4 generations of daydreamers. 3 or 4 generations of daydreamers who were never able to seal the deal on their own, and now their children pay the price. Now their children will pay the price. Because this is the inevitable result of that. This is the inevitable result. Parents who never grew up, grandparents who never grew up, now they've had children who are not embracing adulthood or rationality. If you are a woman who is making $50,000 a year, and most of you don't, but if you are a woman making $50,000 a year, a fella making 60 or 70 is right up your alley. I was mentioning this on last night's program, and it bears repeating. When you tell yourself that you want to be with somebody who is in the top 10% of men, what you are saying is, I want a guy who has beaten out 90% of his competition. Well, that makes perfect sense if you are a female who has been able to beat out 90% of her competition. So if you are a female in the top 10% of females, then yes, you are eligible for a man in the top 10% of men. Problem: the majority are not in the top 10% of females. The majority are in the bottom 60% of females, where they have nothing but endless amounts of time to fantasize that they are much higher in the hierarchy than they really are. And they got plenty of friends out there who will sit up here and carry the water and give them likes on Instagram and you go girl, and all you really have is a group of gals to hang out with. You don't have any men who are actually endorsing what you're hearing. Unrealistic expectations. Absolutely unrealistic. If you are a female who is not articulate, what in the world are you going to do with a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer? And you should be clear enough with yourself about what your limitations are. You should be clear enough about that. Because by the time you finally do accept where you fall in the hierarchy, the fellas that you did have the opportunity to be with, they're not even eligible anymore. They're not even eligible. You're not eligible to be with them. They're not available anymore to be with. I'm going to open up the telephone lines here in a few moments, and I want to hear from the guys as far as what they think about whether or not we have an epidemic of unrealistic expectations. Don't be blowhards about it, fellas. Keep your comments brief. But I want us to talk about that tonight, because as it stands now, it used to be that reality was a benchmark that people aspired to. It used to be that. Now it no longer is. Now fantasy is the benchmark that they aspire to the point that they are willing to destroy their relationships if they don't get it. Let me tell you something. If you're a CNA or an LPN or a RN, you need to examine yourself and figure out. You need to examine yourself and come to grips, not figure out. You need to examine yourself and be honest with yourself about where exactly you are and where exactly you rate. You need to be honest about that. Not Instagram honest. You need to be personally honest with yourself about where you rate, because they sure as hell want the men to be honest with themselves. This idea that the men who are at the level you are, just understand what that says to you there. The men who are at the level that you are, you have contempt for. And there's the real crazy part. How is it that somebody that you aren't able to exceed over is somehow beneath you? How is that? How is it that someone who is either at your level or even above your level is somehow not good enough? I mean, right out of the gate. She was offended, and let's be very, very clear, she represents the majority of the female population. She was offended. Well, how am I going to brag to my friends about where he works at? How am I going to brag to them? How is that raising my status? How is that supposed to be? No, I would rather double or triple up on the fella who's already got it. I would rather be a second, third, or fourth wheel. To the guys listening right now, I want you to be very, very aware. This is the reality. There's no shortage of females out there. There isn't. What they're doing is they are piling up on that top 10 or 20%. And so what it leaves is an artificial drought and an artificial shortage otherwise. That artificial shortage usually doesn't relieve itself until they've gone off and had a gang of kids by those fellas or by some deadbeat that they were playing around with in the meantime. Because when they realize that now they're not really eligible for what they actually want, they go looking for somebody who can they can fill the time with. And there's when they really get upset about it. They really get upset when they actually go out into the world and try to say, okay, well, let me go see what I can get. And then they end up with a guy who's working the forklift at Home Depot or whatever. Or they're dealing with a guy who is in between jobs, got a couple kids. They're dealing with a fellow there, and that's when she finds out the intellectual and emotional level that she's operating at. So that's the best she can have, but she fantasizes that she's better than that. She fantasizes that she's better, and she's actually willing to attempt to enforce that. She's actually willing to try to enforce it on fellas that she sees or tells herself that she is better than and has an advantage over. She'll enforce that. So that is what I'm going to be discussing with you all here tonight. We're going to go ahead and open up the telephone lines for you here now. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933, your personal access code to the program that laid the foundation upon which all of your red pill, MGTOW, high value posers and frauds will be stealing and ripping off this subject and this topic next week. Hell, probably even tonight. My posers and copycats will be ripping this off soon. So time for you to go ahead and get the reality here. And also, I'll open up the telephone line to the ladies also. If you all think that you don't have unrealistic expectations, if you think that your expectations are perfectly in line with where they're supposed to be, then go ahead. You can go ahead and give us a call. And by the way, the young lady I was speaking with last night, I think she blocked me on Instagram because one moment I was able to see her page. She had it private. And one moment I was able to see her page. The next, I wasn't even able to pull up any of her stuff at all. I couldn't pull up anything. It didn't just say private. I just couldn't find anything. So apparently she got off in her feelings about it. Apparently she was very, very offended and very, very upset about that. She was very, very upset about hearing reality. Not going to sit here and beat the drum about it and whatnot. But let's be very, very clear. No one's gonna mistake, when you get on the phone with me, you're not gonna mistake me for somebody who couldn't be leading your company or couldn't be in charge of something. So you're not gonna talk to me and not hear somebody who makes it very clear from everything that you're hearing that they know what they're talking about and they're operating on that level. So if I tell you I represent the kind of men that you fantasize you want to be with and you're not on that level, yeah, that kind of did something to her. I guess that kind of did something to her. That she was on the phone with somebody that you couldn't deny the credentials or his ability or capability. And when he said, yeah, you don't qualify, it broke her. She didn't sit there and do what some females who talk to me do and be like, okay, I gotta level up. Instead, it was, oh, really? Well, you can't hide from reality. You can't hide from reality. You can't fabricate a bunch of fellas who are going to be on the level that you want them to be on. However, for them to also tell themselves that the standard for you will be drop dead low. It's not going to be that way. Not at all. I recommend that everybody who wants to call in early. A bunch of you wind up getting squeezed at the end because I don't know if you're sitting there doing your weed or whatever, but I recommend that you call in early. If you want to give yourself the best opportunity to have the most time to speak, I would recommend that you do so by calling in now. Let me get caller from area code 914. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from? Caller from 214. You're on live. Please stop rubbing on yourself.
Hi. Oh, stop. This is Pam, a.k.a. Summer Rain from Las Colinas, Texas.
All right. Cam from Las Colinas, Texas. What's on your mind?
Well, I admire you and I listen to you every day. But I think it's even on the unrealistic expectations of women as well as with the unrealistic expectations of men.
Okay.
I think it's even Steve.
I'm not sure. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on with your phone there, but if you're on speaker or earphones or something, you need to get off of that because you sound like you're about a foot and a half away from your phone.
Nope, I'm sitting here. I just closed the YouTube,
Okay.
so is that better?
Okay. How old are you?
I am 58 years young.
Okay. How many kids do you have?
I had 3, 31, 33, and 35.
All right. How many husbands have you had?
I have one husband, and we've been together since 1977.
Well, congratulations.
So 45 years.
And
45
you're
years.
still together now?
Yes.
Okay. Well, if you've been married all this time, how is it exactly that you're speaking? Well, okay, if you've been married all this time, how exactly is it that you're speaking about the unrealistic expectations of men if you've been concentrating all of your focus and energies on one man for the better part of 4.5 decades now?
It's because I had 2 sons. I have 2 sons and I have 1 daughter. But I am very aware of what's going on with the youngins today, specifically the young black women and specifically the young black men. There's this sexuality that's going on with the internet stage, and you know I'm 58, so you know I know when it wasn't this. That has caused a lot of strife between our community. I remember and had a father that took care of my mother until she died last year at 92. And my father was born 1918. I grew up with black wealth before I knew what white wealth was. Okay? I am 14 years post-education. I am currently at my alma mater at University of Maryland.
Congratulations. However, that doesn't tell me what your credentials or what authority you're speaking on men's unrealistic expectations. All you said is, well, I got sons and daughters. Okay, that's great, but that doesn't tell me how you know anything about this.
Well, I know because, first of all, my son is married to a white woman, and she, he took her out of the gutter trailer park. And now she's turned into a beautiful young woman, and gave me my first grandchild. And she working for the first time in her life. He put her in a house. He bought her a car, and the dog, and all the things that typically, traditional men supposed to do. You get engaged, you get married, you go on your honeymoon, you come into the new house, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I've seen him change a white woman that came out of the gutter, a Cleburne, and you know where Cleburne is.
Okay, so what you're saying is that you raised your son to deify white women and to give their best to them. Is that basically what you're saying?
No. That was the first white woman he dated. He dated a Jamaican woman. He dated 5 black women, and I met them all. Okay. So that's not what he went for, because he knows I told their parents that I was upset when he brought her home, and I expected more of her. And I told him to expect more of her. And now she's doing a great job. And she loves the hell out of him.
Okay. I'm not sure. Okay. I'm not really sure what this has to do with unrealistic expectations. I'm lost here. Can we get to that part, ma'am?
On both sides.
Okay, can we get to what exactly it is you mean? Because you've said a whole lot, and so I'm trying to be patient here, but so far we haven't said anything. So what are the realistic expectations that you're referring to?
I'm referring to the fact that black women are looking at the YouTube as well as black men, and it's on both sides.
You're repeating yourself. You're repeating yourself.
Yes, because the simple fact
List for me specifically. What are the specific unrealistic expectations that that you think black men specifically have? What are the specific ones?
One specific one is they expect you to be size 6 and also very voluptuous. But they don't expect that from a lot of other people. And it's vice versa. The black woman wants the same thing. But we have to unify, whereas we have to talk about both issues on both sides. And I know you have, I've been following you for years, and I'm a Patreon. But I think it's more so that we seem to concentrate now that women are seen like they're being vindictive against the black men now. It's because black men, I've had forums with black men that say that black women want to get their nails done.
Okay. So, there's a problem with what you're saying here, okay? So just sit back and listen so that you can be educated about this, because there's a problem with what you're saying. This is an old trope that gets trotted out when the female population attempts to neutralize the truth that the men are speaking by trying to claim, there's some equal offense from both, that it's mutual offense from both sides, and that's not true. What you are invoking is that, there's a fantasy life that males tend to get counted in. So what you all do is you register likes and shares, because that's the way that female psyche works. You all take a look at what guys click likes on and what they show an affinity towards. And now the internet has given us a place where we can quantify that and specifically count specifically what it is the fellas claim to like. Here's the problem. Women have a type, men have a range. And so that range, actually, when you say they want to be 5'6" and very voluptuous, the real problem is that's not true. There's a range of types that males like. But also the other problem is men are not going into the real world attempting to enforce that, attempting to say, if I can't have a chick who is built like a Miradime, then I'm just not gonna be with anybody. Men are not doing that. Males are not doing that. The females, however, they're doing that. And I can tell you that myself, not from this isn't up for debate. This is mathematics. The females are saying, if I can't be with a guy who is in the top 10%, I will either be alone or I will double up. But what they are not saying
No.
is if the guy can provide at a working class level, then I'll be happy with that. They do not come in the door saying that. If you can beat them down over time, they will eventually just quote unquote give up, and they call that settling. Let's be very clear. What females refer to today as settling, they're talking about being with a guy who is on their level. That's what women today mean when they say, I guess I just gotta settle. Being with a guy who is like her or even slightly above her level, that's called settling today by the female population. That is not called settling by men. If you're talking about body type, if you're talking about social ability, men don't call a female at their level. We don't label that settling. The females as a group label that settling.
I agree.
Okay, then there's no comparison between how the females are operating and how the males are. Because when the males click a like on some Instagram model, the guys understand that's just fantasy. He cannot actually attempt to go into the real world and insist on that unless he's specifically at a certain level. The females, on the other hand, they will come out big jiggly and wiggly, toe down and toe up, and actually attempt to act on it in the real world as a group. And they will have their friends, they will have their family, they will have trained professional therapists, which is why I tell females the worst thing that can happen is for them to have a female as their therapist, coach, psychiatrist, trainer. That's the worst thing that's going to happen, because they are going to mislead them even worse. So no, the men are not taking a look at Instagram and then saying, I'm not going to do anything unless I can have that. The females are looking at Instagram and saying, I'm not going to take anything unless I can have that.
Because the man is usually the provider and the female isn't. And I think that's why that is happening more.
No, that's always been the case. Men being provider has always been the case. What wasn't, What wasn't always the case was that a man had to be in the top 10% to be desirable. To be desirable at all. That's a new thing. That was not, it's always been that women wanted a man who could provide for them. It wasn't always, I got to have a 8,000, 10,000 square foot house. I got to be driving $120,000, $150,000, $200,000 car. I got to have a Chanel and a Fendi and a Gucci and a Louis. That is what has not always been the case. Because at your age, you understand females knew that wasn't realistic. First of all, you weren't bombarded with the images, but even if you had been, you would have known. I mean, we've always had soap operas portraying people. Females have always gravitated to soap operas where you had the dashing guy and they're handsome or whatever, and they're living this luxurious lifestyle and whatnot. Yeah, but I'm talking about the soap operas in particular have always been a mainstay for females. Females have always gravitated around the soap operas where there was this guy and he was living this lifestyle or whatever, but they knew that wasn't real, or at least they understood I can't take any expectations for what I'm seeing on that screen into the real world. Today, they identify with the Kim K's. They didn't identify with the chicks from Knots Landing and Young and the Restless. Today, they identify with the Kim K, with the Portia Williams. They identify with the Beyoncés, even though they're not even on the same planet with these individuals. They identify with it, and they are going up to the guys that they know and telling these men, you have to meet that standard. And if you don't, I will be single. I will cheat on you. I will hold out for something better. That this is standard operating procedure today. It is no longer enough for a man to be productive at a working class level. It's no longer enough. So no, ma'am, Both the males and females today are both watching Instagram. The men are watching and walking away and getting back to work. The females are watching it and coming away completely delusional and confused about what it is they can realistically expect. And they're coming into the real world and demanding an Instagram life of the men. The men are not demanding an Instagram life of the females. And we know that this is true because over 60% of black females are overweight or obese. So that body type that you were talking about, very clearly, if the men were as stomped down serious about that as the females are about the income, then the fellas would be out here sharing the size 6s and 8s. That's not happening. The females are sharing the guys who are in the top 10%. They're sharing them. The men ain't sharing the females who are built like the Instagram chicks. So we see where the men draw the line and we see where the females draw the line. Yeah, he wants a bad broad, but he's not going to share her. She's like, I want this fellow who is producing it. I want this fellow who can produce it at this level and give me this life. Or, and even if I got to share him, I'll take it. And if there isn't one available to share, then I'm just going to abuse the daylights out of the guys who are left until one is available. No, ma'am, you cannot compare in any way. You cannot compare what the males are doing and the females are doing. They're totally separate. The men are not moving like the women are at all. Not at all.
Now, but of course, that's not the generation I grew up with. And people that I speak with and have as associates or friends or business partners, I have 3 LLCs and an Inc. And look me up because I want you to give me a shout out. CFE Industries
Okay,
LLC.
well, slow down now. If you want to advertise, you need to pay for that. Let's not be bummy. Let's not be bummy. Business wasn't so great. Let's not do that.
Jason, I just wanted to say is that I would like the millionaire and billionaire men to be more supportive of women in business.
No.
That is needed in our community.
N-O, no, not nit, nay, nine, no. And let me tell you why. The reason why is because, unfortunately, what we've entered into is a situation where women are not, quote, unquote, in business. They see themselves as in competition. There's the problem. They see themselves as in competition with the men. That's the problem. Instead of the females simply saying that, well, I want to get a job as a... Okay, ma'am, it's time for you to learn something. You're operating on a lot of misconceptions. What you're saying is completely divorced from reality. You don't see any men or any women sitting here co-signing what you're saying. What you're saying is completely out of touch with the real world. I understand how you might feel, but what you feel is not the reality. That's your perception. It's what you feel. That is not real.
My perception is my reality and yours is your reality.
Ma'am, perception and reality by definition are not the same thing. By definition. So I just want you to understand what you're doing right now. This is counterlogical talking. This is not realistic talking. Perception and reality are not the same thing. By definition.
It's not what it can be.
Okay, if you go into a dictionary and show me where perception says what is really there, and show me where reality is whatever you perceive. So, ma'am, please stop. I'm going to do you a favor. Yes, they're totally unrelated. They are unrelated. Exactly. So you cannot say that your perception is reality. This is what you're doing right now, though.
I said some people's perception can be another person's reality.
Ma'am, no, they're not. Okay, let's not do that. What you're doing right now.
No, they're not.
Okay, ma'am, no offense. What you're doing right now at your advanced age, this is the problem. Right here. This is it right here. Thank you for being a patron. But what you're doing right now at your advanced elderly age, this is the problem that men have. Right here, what you're doing.
Wow.
This is the problem.
Wow.
Right here. You are on the phone talking to somebody that you know he knows his stuff. You know he's got his strictly tight. And you're arguing over the definition of words that we can Google and look up. And you're arguing over it not because you're correct, because you know you're dead wrong. You're arguing because you want to save face.
Someone's perception and reality can be different. I didn't say that.
No, you said
you're the same.
You said perception is reality.
I said someone's
okay, ma'am, you said perception. You said perception is reality. I'm not going to sit here and argue that. You said perception is reality. And what I'm saying is that this type of obstinance, stubbornness, hard-headedness, belligerence, this is the problem. And when a female says that she quote-unquote owns a business, she doesn't mean what a man means when he says, I own a business. When a man says he owns a business, what he means is that he is taking his rightful place in the world by subduing the earth's resources, utilizing them and turning them into something more valuable, and enhancing and increasing the value of himself, his community, his people, and the planet. When a female says I'm in business, she means ain't nobody gonna tell me what to do, so I can be as, wait for it, stubborn, obstinate, defiant, belligerent, and argumentative as I wish to be, only now I am more insulated from consequences for this bad behavior. So we're talking about a difference in motive.
You are exaggerating, Jason.
No, ma'am, that's not an exaggeration, because the simple fact of the matter is,
I said. I feel it's
ma'am, that's not an exaggeration. 90% of black female businesses, 90% of black female businesses are simply a self-employed individual. They have no employees.
I like that.
Okay, that's your proof about their motive for starting the business. That's your proof.
Well, this woman, I'm an MBA, DBA, SBA, and AFDBE.
Okay, that and $30 to get you a cab ride across town. I should know.
Exactly.
So, in other words, that doesn't bolster your point. Okay, but that doesn't bolster your point. That doesn't mean that you're an easy.
The point that what I'm
ma'am,
saying
that doesn't mean
is
that you're an easy person to deal with, and it doesn't mean that a man would desire to be in your company. That's the problem. So, yes, give yourself all those accolades. That has nothing to do with that.
I've always had men in my company, rich and poor.
You've always had men in your company. In the last 45 years, you've had men in your company.
My level is I never expected a man.
Okay, let's stop there for a moment. Level. I've always had men in my company. Have you had men in your company in the last 45 years?
Yes. I've had athletes as well as people that have never had nothing. And most of my friends are male. So I don't have any female friends.
So you're a married.
Maybe that's why I'm a little late.
So you're a married woman, and most of your friends have been male.
Yes, I'm on my right.
All right.
Okay.
There's only a certain type of guy.
Well, maybe that's why I'm not.
There's only a certain type of guy who's going to be comfortable in that environment. Be that as it may, there's the problem with females, and particularly black females who claim they want to be business owners, is they really just want that so they can be difficult, defiant, and belligerent and attempt to defy a man's authority. So on the one hand, they want the men to be their men. That's not what I think. On the one hand, they say they want a man to be their protector and provider. And on the other hand, they are constantly putting together an apparatus to defy that authority.
Do you think it's because there's not many fathers around? You think that's because of it?
No. The females are in full. The females are the ones who got rid of the fathers. So no, this is a part of an ongoing agenda.
How is that?
Okay, you're old enough to know.
Rid of the fathers.
For you to even have to ask that is a very sad commentary. You were there when it happened. You were there when it happened.
About when.
You were there when it happened. Black females had a choice between choosing to bond and ally themselves with black society or to attempt to rebel out and join forces with the white government. We see which one they chose.
A lot of my age.
Yeah, in your age group. As a matter of fact, it was your group that was growing up when you all were children. As a group, that's what they chose. And the fact that you're on my phone now with this black women business stuff, that's proof positive. Yeah, that's it right there. And there's the real problem.
Because what they
tell themselves is they think to themselves, I'm with black men, but they act like feminists. I want y'all to understand that. In their heads, they're telling themselves in their heads, I'm with black men. But when you take a look at their actions, they're very clearly against them. So there's where the schism and the conflict and the contradiction comes from. They tell themselves between their ears, I'm not like them. I'm not like them at all. And then take a look at their actions. Everything they're doing supports it. So that's exactly what we're talking about. Exactly it. And she'll argue that it's totally different.
What I am?
Ma'am,
you think that's what I am?
I'm all I gotta do is I don't even have to argue this anymore. I just have to play your words. That is all I have to do. I don't even have to argue it. I can just replay your words. You've gone down the entire checklist of everything that the men have said is a problem. You've gone down the checklist and defended it, even though it is indefensible. Because here's the problem. Men, by definition, we cannot be wrong about what we say is the issue. By definition, we can't be. And you're telling us about what we're in error about. And it isn't that. Because for men, if we are wrong, there are consequences. We have to suffer if there's something wrong. For the females, they've engineered a welfare system, a social system, a media apparatus that defends whatever foolery, nonsense, and debauchery that they wish to get into. The men have no similar such protections. When the men tell you this is wrong, this is the reason why we're not doing XYZ, instead of that simply being accepted, we know it's not accepted, because if it were, the females would retreat to each other, start talking to each other and say, we need to have a great big dumb girl powwow where we start examining where we screwed up at. But that's the part that doesn't occur. The men are getting together in groups and talking to each other about where we went wrong or what we can improve at. The females are doing no such thing. Every time they get together to tell each other about how there's nothing wrong. Why, if you perceive that there's something wrong, it's not really wrong. Why, the men are the ones who are wrong. But you never see the females getting together in groups and saying, we need to sit down and discuss about how screwed up we are. Now, that's what doesn't happen. Never has.
Well, you know what? Probably that's why I have more male friends than female friends.
Well, that's
because I don't relate to that.
Well, I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing either. But what I will say,
it's a good thing.
I will say is that
I can't have a conversation with men.
What I will say is that men are not allowed to keep unrealistic expectations, because we have a burden of performance, and we are punished if we don't meet that burden. We don't have those extracurricular or extended options that women have. We don't have those special circumstances or get special dispensations. If a female screws up, here's the difference between men and women. If a female screws up, she knows that she has the option of getting out here and maybe showing some thigh, and she can get get folks to ease up on her. She can get some help from somewhere. That all she gotta do, she doesn't have to get smarter. She doesn't have to become more resourceful. She doesn't have to become more intelligent. Hell, she doesn't even have to become wiser. A female understands if she shows a little thigh, she can get some help. Okay, guess what? If men do that, they don't have that option. We don't have the show some thigh option. We don't have the show some taco meat option. We don't have that.
Well, that's what my mother taught me. My mother taught me that at a young age, as well as my father taught me everything that I've been and what I've been doing every day of my life, making sure that I take care of my man, he takes care of me, and my sons are doing the same thing.
Well, going forward, understand, the men don't have unrealistic expectations. They can have, you're confusing fantasies with unrealistic expectations. Everybody can observe a fantasy. You can observe a sci-fi movie. You can observe some Photoshop pictures on the internet. When you turn that device off, or when you get up and walk away and go out into the real world, are you still expecting that what you saw on that screen should be what you get to experience yourself? The men do not expect that. The women are actually expecting it, and they have altered their behaviors, their lives, their culture. Female culture today has mutated into this grotesque entity that is actually expecting all of this to happen. And if it doesn't, then we're going to double up, triple up, slut out, whatever the case may be. So there's the real difference.
Yeah, that's what.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Just understand, like I say, as they get older, this is what we're dealing with here. This is what we're dealing with. They circle the wagons. The men don't have unrealistic expectations. As men, we can't afford to have them. Caller from area code 434. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Jay Hayes calling out of Raleigh, North Carolina, and I just got to say, for one, I commend your patience with that last caller. I would have been hung up. But to get to your point, as a 25-year-old male, I tell people, I say, I don't see the prospects of gaining anything with just dating or anything, or even marriage at this point. And I'm somebody that would be in a closer to the top earning working class. It is ridiculous what some of these average bras be like demanding out of niggas like me and onwards. And I'm somebody that's at least worth trying, too. That's the crazy part about it, man. So you're absolutely right about everything you said. And even somebody on my own level would have contempt. I have seen it with my own eyes. It's ridiculous.
Well, there hasn't actually been a feedback for them. Up until now, they had Oprah. You know, the mass media was Oprah. And basically, it's been a situation where whatever fallacies or misconceptions they have simply been confirmed and they've been comforted. They haven't actually had to hear what the men had to say. The men have been silenced, and especially at the local level. So to be able to have a guy call in and say, hey, I'm from Raleigh, and here's what's happening on the ground. And somebody else, I'm from Nashville, here's what's happening on the ground. I'm from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, here's what's happening here on the ground. That's what's different, and that's what's new. And then you realize when we start comparing notes, we're like, hey, you know what? We're seeing the same thing everywhere. The body types might be a little different, but we're seeing a similarity of behavior across the board, and it's unworkable. So thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 706. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
My name is Ray 956. I'm from Swainsboro, Georgia.
Ray from Swainsboro, Georgia. What's on your mind?
Mr. Black Eye, I put in the comments that I'm guilty of adding fuel to the fire. I often tell women that are 4s that they're 10s, and I will probably continue to do it because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. That's my motive, so I do that a lot. You know, and I don't know if it's, I won't say it's wrong, but I do that as so not to hurt a woman's feelings. You know, that's all.
Okay, let me find out here, brother. Have I spoken to you before?
Yes, you have. I'm the John Lewis icon guy.
Okay.
AKA Tink Tink, as you said.
That explains so much right there. And if you was John Lewis, you had to do the same damn thing and just lie to them. But understand something. We do ourselves no favors. Look, what happens is males have always been so desperate for female companionship, and that's not the way evolution is supposed to work. Evolution is supposed to winnow out the weak. Fellas, it is what it is. Evolution is supposed to winnow out the weak. It is supposed to remove the guys who don't perform, who don't excel. It's supposed to remove the weak and so that the strong can thrive. Today, we've got a situation where the weak are allowed to not just survive, they're allowed to overrun the strong simply by sheer weight of numbers. So guys who have no resources and thus nothing with which to attract women end up still staying alive. They get to pass on their genes. So now this individual who has failed to meet the standard of survival, he's still here. Not only is he still here, he's polluting the waters. He's here and polluting the waters and contaminating the discussion and leading people to believe things that are just flat out false. And this is really, really bad and dangerous because the guys who are given all these strong threes so much positive feedback It used to be first of all, it used to be we didn't have so many damn threes. That was the first thing. We didn't used to have a bunch of threes and fours. Females understood if I don't get my weight up as far as I possibly can, I'm just going to find myself alone and destitute. And it used to be that wasn't the case. They would not allow that to happen. Now, because of your so-called the social safety net was created to save the threes and fours. Now the threes and fours didn't have to worry about eating anymore, so they didn't have to worry about changing. Changing didn't become their top priority. When we talk about charm schools and physical fitness and stuff, they understood, okay, if I don't change, I'm going to be left a sitting duck out here. Now they feel like, well, damn that, I can get a county check to protect me from having to change. And there will be some bum dude from Waynesboro who's going to sit up here and congratulate me anyway. So she'll sit up there and be like, yeah, see, he likes it now. She won't claim you in public. Now, there's the other side of it. By the way, the females who you do that with, none of them would claim you in public. None of them would hold you up as something to brag about for endorsing their condition. They'll let you sit there and say it, but they won't sit there and brag about you. They won't sit up here and praise you in front of their friends. So they use it to limp through their day, but in reality, it's doing them horrendous amounts of harm because what they need is a man who is actually going to protect and provide for them. And you are encouraging them to stay in their broken, damaged state. So in reality, you are doing them grievous violence.
Sir, I have my own trucking company. I just don't like hurting women's feelings, sir. That's all.
Okay, you're not hurting their feelings, sir. You're destroying them.
That's all.
Okay, you're not hurting their feelings. What you claim you're not hurting their feelings. You're actually destroying them.
Well, I just look at it. I'm not in a position to. I've been around women that are 10s. If they take the makeup off, they could become that 4. It's different. I look at a woman just in her natural state more so than with the makeup and all that other stuff on, because that's the way you're supposed to look at a woman, right? In her natural state.
No, I mean, of course, that's a great thing to have, but here's the real thing. You're supposed to be honest with yourself about what your standards are. And the problem is, too many of you fellows who've spent your lives struggling, you all don't actually have standards. So when you encounter a female, you all are just hobosexualing through things, and you will just say anything to any female because you're in a perpetual drought. You don't actually have choices. You don't actually have the ability to be spoiled for choice where you can have your pick of the litter. You don't have that. And because you don't, what you're doing is resorting to what evolution is supposed to winnow out. Evolution is supposed to filter out the guys who don't perform. Evolution is supposed to filter out the guys who don't push the species forward. Evolution is supposed to filter out the guys who refuse to excel. It's supposed to filter you out. You're not supposed to have any females to reproduce with. Because that word means reproduce, which means to create you all over again. Evolution is supposed to filter that out. There's a reason why throughout history, the majority of males did not actually get to pass on their genes. That's the way it's supposed to work. The majority don't actually perform. They don't actually excel. They will actually drag everybody else down. They are not just mediocre. They're sub-mediocre. Everything is just get by. And what they do in effect is to drag the rest of the species down. Evolution is supposed to remove that. It's supposed to block him from spawning himself all over again, because we started off with one loser. He goes off and has 3 kids. Now we got 3 losers. And if they have 3 kids, now we got 9. And if you're all still alive, we got 12 losers. 13. There's the real problem. It expands and spawns at this crazy rate like a virus, which is where we are now. Which is why on the internet, all you need is some bummy ass broad to bend her butt cheeks over and she can get 100,000 likes. Okay, but the guys who are extending all those likes are going to walk into the real world knowing that they cannot actually have what it is they really want to have. The chick that they're giving the likes to, they can't get that. So he walks into the real world defeated. And so he spends his life being a beggar, taking easy wins, the low-hanging fruit, and that's all he gets to feast on. The low-hanging and the rotted fruit. And that's what's on the phone here.
I was going to say, sir, even though I don't criticize, women in the sense of the rating, I would never personally date a 4. Yeah, I have 11 kids, sir. I've been married twice. My first wife.
There you go.
The second wife, we're okay.
There you go.
I would never date a 4. I just don't.
You would date a 4 all damn, brother. You would date a 4 all damn day because we don't compliment that which we do not adhere to. We don't compliment that. We don't compliment that which we find to be repulsive. We don't compliment it.
Oh.
An ugly an ugly female is invisible to men the way that an ugly broke male is invisible to females.
Sir, I disagree with you.
So, of course you disagree because you got to beg and struggle and beg for what you can get. So every female is visible to you because, as I said, you're in a constant state of drought. You're in a constant state of desperation. So you can't afford to have any standards. Therefore, every female is visible to you. And therein lies the problem. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Very good back-to-back example. These old niggas. Very good back-to-back example. He needs to get the other what's-her-face and whatnot. So the older they get, by the way, yeah, this is more proof. Just because they get older doesn't mean they get smarter. Call from area code 845. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hello, Jason. This is Sheba calling from Newburgh, New York. I'm like really nervous, but
no need to be. It's just you, me, and a few thousand of my closest friends. Don't be nervous at all.
Yeah, I'm so nervous. I'm a Patreon member, and my dad put me onto you a few years back, and I'm like, oh, God, I wish he would have told me about you so many years ago. But I just want to tell you that you're probably not going to like what I have to say, but I am going to take it on the chin. I am 37, and I have 2 kids. Baby daddy was a mess. And we did not get married, so I'm dating now. Well, I'm seeing this guy. He's really amazing, but he has no children. And I think I'm definitely like lucky to have found him because there's a big chance he could be with anybody in a better position than I am because I know that I have.
That's the real game. That's the real game that goes on today. Y'all got to understand, the females today, the game that they're playing is that they know. What they've done is for females, it works brilliant for them. It's diabolical, but it works for them. What they've done is they've convinced the men that they should be lucky and grateful to have anything with a set of ovaries. So they've set up here and artificially restricted the supply to the point that these fellas out here, like the last caller, they're just desperate for anything they can get. So fellas who otherwise could be doing a hell of a lot better and doing a hell of a lot more, they find themselves in a situation where they're just like, man, I hope I can get anything. So a fellow who actually could do better, now we've created a situation where she gets to slide in, and where otherwise she shouldn't get anything at all. What she should get is a free ticket to ride back to her baby daddy. But instead, because they have restricted the supply so much and bamboozled the men so much and badgered them and bullied them into submission and betaism so much that the fellas are out here just like, well, man, they get so tired of waiting because most of these guys are beta today, but they get so tired of waiting and they're just so desperate that anything that sniffs in their direction, they're willing to take. Now, what does this fella do for a living?
So he's a level 1 supervisor in the Parks Department.
How old is he?
39.
Does he have any children?
He does not.
Okay, you said he doesn't. Are you sure he doesn't have any children?
Absolutely positive. I met his mother and a few family members.
Where are his people from?
They're from the South, Where in the South? Oh God, I can't remember.
Okay, in
but,
New York is usually immigrants now. So are you sure about that?
Yeah, no. This time, I promise you, because most of the guys I've dated are immigrants, and I didn't realize that. As I got more clear in my consciousness, and I'm seeing the difference in how they treat foundational Black Americans. I'm like, wow. I see the difference now. I see where there was a disconnect when I used to date those people, but he is absolutely foundational Black American on both sides of the family.
Okay, in the chat room, I wanted to find out about that as well. Has this fella done time?
No, he has not. I'm sorry. I forgot. He did do time.
Okay, there you go. Thank you very much for the phone.
Yes,
this is why I have to have people who know this kind of thing there. So in the chat room, thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. To Wayhep31, thank you very much. We want to make sure about that because folks who don't live in these areas might not know what that means. But yeah, so you got a guy who been dealing with some charges, and I'm not going to demean him for that necessarily. What did he go to prison for?
It was one charge. He got caught with a gun, and he didn't use it or anything.
Yeah.
He just had it on him.
How could this possibly turn out wrong or bad? Go ahead. What else?
Well, it was his first offense.
Of course.
And he only did 7
he got arrested the very first time that he had never done anything like this before. The very first time he walked off somewhere with a gun, he got clipped for it. So, of course, he's never done anything like that before. That was the very first time, and just dumb bad luck. Yep.
Ooh. Well, I got to dig into that more. I know he used to carry it, and he got busted with it that one time. But he was able to still go get him a city job. And he says he makes a certain amount. I don't know if you want to know that yet. I'm sorry. Let me wait for you. I'm nervous. Whew.
Well, in any case...
Do you want to know how much he makes?
I don't need to know how much he makes. So, yeah, like I say, now, in your case, yeah, I mean, that's the level you're at, And certainly, I think that he's probably the last train smoking for you. Let me find out something else here. How tall are you?
5'5".
And how much do we weigh? Be honest.
I am going to be honest, and that's fine. 200 pounds.
There you go. All righty. There you go.
Now, I'm not going to lie. I don't look like it.
No, baby, if you don't quit, if you don't stop.
Okay.
If you don't stop. She say most people. Most people like the dude who just got off the phone. Niggas who lied to him and whatnot. There isn't a fella who offered to pay the tab at the restaurant who told you that. So just stop, please. Just stop. And I'm not downing you for it. What I am saying is get your damn act together. But be that as it may, certainly I think you and this fella here, like I say, I think as long as he's minding his manners, I don't know how long he been out the joint, but how long has he been out?
Oh, Lord. Well, I know he's been at this job for 15 years, and he's looking to retire in 10.
Okay. Well, it sounds like he's been minding his manners this whole time here, so... one way or another, if you can wrangle him and get him down the aisle, which is doubtful, but even if you can get him to take you under as a long-term companion, you might be doing good there. But if you can wrangle his ass down the aisle, you are winning. You're not winning, you're winning. So yes, I got it on good authority, ma'am. This is the last train leaving for you. So I suggest you get you a seat, where you and the kids get a seat to ride. I've got it on good authority. There will not be another one after this one.
I think this is my question for you, right? Because I know that he's the last train smoking for me, absolutely, and I'm like trying my best to make him happy and everything. The issue that I'm having is that he is trying to elevate himself, and he's trying to start a business, where he basically. Ooh, yeah, I'm a little worried because...
You should be.
I'm a little worried.
You should be. You are in great big trouble is where the hell you at. Yes, you are in trouble.
Jesus, that's what I was worried about.
Yeah, you are. You are in trouble.
Ditch me.
Might. Baby, look here. He's in Okay, first of all, let me find out a couple of things. Which borough does he live in?
Brooklyn.
Where in Brooklyn? How close to Manhattan?
What part is he in? I think East New York. I'm not sure how close that is to Manhattan.
No,
I mean, 30-minute ride. Drive.
For those of you who don't live in New York, to my people in New York, fall the hell back. It is what it is. The closer you are to Manhattan, the more that's going to be an issue there. Because basically, gentrification, Manhattan got completely gentrified first. And then the next order of business was to cross the Brooklyn Bridge to go over into Brooklyn. And basically, if you go across the Brooklyn Bridge and just drive straight, all you got to do is drive straight across the Brooklyn Bridge and just keep straight. So, I was there. I've already done the documentaries about it. Y'all know I did that. But Dumbo, Barclays Center, Junior's Cheesecake, you can see it basically is the build out has basically started at the river coming from Brooklyn and just moved that backwards in that direction. So that's all that's really done. So the closer they are to Manhattan, that tells you something. So I'm not sure exactly where he is in there, but he's in Brooklyn, which essentially is becoming the next part of Manhattan. It really, really is. So essentially it's going the same way. So that tells me one thing. If you had said the Bronx or Queens, I might feel a little bit different, but the immigrants are out there in Queens and the Bronx is driving its own real estate values down by the day with all that nonsense they got going over there right now. So leaving out Staten Island, that's pretty much going to be what you have. So in this case, he's in Brooklyn. He's almost 40. You all know what I've taught you and told you about this. This is following the exact trajectory that I've told you about. Baby, he's ready to get his paper straight. Ain't nobody giving him nothing. He done did a bid. Nobody's giving him anything. He's going 40 years old, and he's in a city of millionaires and billionaires, literally with a billionaires row. And if he's been struggling, let me find out something. Does he have a car?
He does, but he drives a...
No. You're missing it. Just stop. He has a car, ma'am, in a city that would allow him to ride the subway. He has a car.
Correct.
That means something.
Correct.
That means something to me. Now, what type of car is it?
Oh, what is the name of that car?
It better not be a sports car.
It's. Oh gosh, I forget the name of this car.
It better be a Kia. It better be a Hyundai Sonata. It better be.
No.
Oh boy.
It's not a Hyundai. It's the safest car they say in America.
Lord.
One of the safest cars. Soccer moms drive it. Okay. I've never really seen anybody drive. Like nobody I dated ever drove. It
better not be a Volvo or a Subaru. But in any case, here's the issue that I have. The issue that I have is in New York City, a place that really kind of makes driving difficult. If I see a person driving like that, especially a man, that's going to tell me something. How tall is he?
He's 5'10".
Okay. That should be something that sticks out to you. Because if he's got one car now, he's going to be looking to upgrade that. He's in a place of affluence. He's in a place where people are making money and things. And if he's talking at this late date of his 40s about, I got to get my weight up, that means that he's planning on going to bigger and better things than where he currently is. So that tells you what the future is going to be. That tells you what it is. I am going to make a very serious, stern suggestion to you right now. Ma'am, if you don't have a gym membership and a serious diet regimen, you better hurry up and find one. At your age, you have been fat and overweight most of your life. And there's not going to be a hell of a whole lot you can do about some of your sagging skin issues. But what I am going to tell you is that if this guy gets away, you can forget about a replacement. That's not what's going to happen for you. So your new primary job, because I don't know what you do for a living, but your new primary job is going to be to get your ass down to around 120 pounds. Which means you've got a whole person you have to lose. But what I am going to tell you is
Right.
that your retirement plan is not going to come from your job. Your retirement plan will come from having a man who protects and provides for you. This guy's been fooling with you for real, but females like you who tend to be, and I'm just going to be brutally frank, intellectually but mostly physically lazy, doing the bare damn minimum, you passing my badass broads every day in front of the Empire State Building, and you ain't trying to be one of them. All you're saying to a man is, I am defeated. I'm defeated. I'm beaten. I don't expect any better. And I want you to sit here with my big lazy ass. Ma'am, that's not going to happen. So just understand, you're doing this to yourself now. And right now, what he's like is, I got to stick with her. She's nice people. She's cool people. So emotionally, you've made a connection to him. But as his money, what all that really tells me is his money ain't right yet. The quality of a man's socioeconomic status and his woman are supposed to match. The higher in quality his economic status, the higher in quality the female is supposed to be. So if you're sitting here squatting on his property, and he hasn't traded you in, it's because he doesn't think he can yet. But that usually means there's a specific type of female he wants to make that move for. And he's not there yet.
Females, yeah, he tells me females don't, I always bother him like, I know that who's in your face today. And then he's like, no, nobody's in my face. He always says females don't really flock to him the way that I.
He's probably right.
And he could be lying.
No. He's probably telling the truth. He's probably telling the truth. But here's the real thing. It's not about the females coming to him. He understands the rules of the road like I do. He understands that he needs to increase his quality if he wants to have the pick of the litter. Because it's one thing to just get whatever he can get. That's how he got with you. No offense. That's getting what he can get. If he wants to target a specific badass type of broad, then he knows he's got to come with resources and credentials intact. So right now, he's taking it easy cooling with you because he's stockpiling resources. Once he gets where he wants to be, then he's going to demand that the woman and the car and the home must match each other. Now, if he becomes an above average man with an above average car in an above average home, then what in the world makes you think he's going to have a substandard female? And what is going to pain him, and let me tell you, I've been there. I have been with females. It was just like, I would love to be able to start a fight with you so I can get rid of you, but I can't. You are a wonderful salt of the earth, decent human being, but I can do better. And you're never gonna change. Look, I'm from Louisiana, and there's a place in my heart for New York women, even though y'all are scandalous and cutthroat and backstabbed and every damn thing else. Gotta watch them calculating hoes from New York. It really is what it is. They're California and whatnot. Look, education-wise, I'm more in line. I know I'm from Louisiana, but education-wise, I'm more in line with females from New York. They tend to be quick and quirky and ambitious, and that's great and everything. They also tend to be skullduggerous and backstabbing. You gotta watch out, and cutthroat, gotta watch out for that too. But what I'm saying is, understand something. With a female from Louisiana, and I love my home state for what it is, but by the same token, I'm not really looking for a slow, rural Southern girl. That's not really something that, ignites any type of passion in me in that regard. So they're wonderful, salt of the earth people. That's fantastic. But if she's too slow, that's not gonna do anything for me. It isn't. And in his case, the man you dealing with is the same thing. So you'll get eliminated, not because you did anything, not because of you were, quote, doing something wrong, but because you never put yourself in position to do what was right. So it's not about the presence of bad. It was about the absolute absence of good. And right now, that's where you are. You're like so many big jolly girls, if I can be diplomatic about this, you're relying on personality. And up until this point, he's tolerated your personality. But I am telling you right now, When the world changes, men change. And if you have a man who has clearly communicated to you that he wishes for his life to change, you need to start asking yourself, am I going to fit in with this new life he's going towards? And if he's telling you, I wish to increase my income 2 or 3 times, he's telling you what, ma'am, a man don't get more money except to have more options. That's the only reason we get more money. If you see a man pushing down and stomping down to get more money, we only need money for one thing, so we can get more options. That's all. And I'm telling you right now, the first thing that happens is we start doing an inventory on everything, including the woman we're with. And unless she is an extraordinary female, she's probably not going to make the cut for where we're going. So yes, you are in imminent peril and mortal danger. You absolutely are. Your days are currently numbered. And he will be as nice as he can. What's most likely going to happen, I hate to say it like this, what's most likely to happen, you're going to find another chick's number or something like that. And is going to blindside you because, well, I was so nice and wonderful and I supported him when he was coming up and this, that, and the other. Yeah, that's great, but we don't match anymore because he was improving and elevating and improving his value and you didn't. Well, what I was doing for you, you're the same person you were when I met you. I have changed and become better. You're the same person. So I've become a more valuable person than a better person, but you're the same old chick you were when I met you. You didn't keep up with me. We drifted apart. Remember when I taught the guys about being average, if you are stagnant, you are moving backwards.
Yeah, that's right where I'm at.
As a female, taking up a love affair with Haagen-Dazs is stagnation. You're moving backwards. There isn't anything about you that says compete for me. So how are you going to expect him to be competitive for you when there's nothing about you that says compete for me?
Yeah, you're right. I know you're right. He even tried to get me a gym membership and everything.
You're in trouble. You're dead in the water. You're dead. So forget it. Man, when the man makes a clear suggestion to you, that's it. We're not going to sit here and beat the damn drum. We're going to make that suggestion. We're going to make it very clear. Now, she heard what he said, and she just dismissed that. Baby, he's not going to argue and fight with you. He's going to keep pushing, keep building what he's building, and when the day comes, it's time to cycle you out. He's not going to feel that bad about it because he gave you every opportunity to evolve and change, and you refused. You refused.
Well, it's not exactly that I refused it.
Yeah, you did.
Gym is kind of, well, it's not exactly because the gym. Okay, I'm in Newburgh, New York.
Okay, are you really gonna do this? Are you seriously gonna sit here and try to give this bullcrap explanation? Are you really gonna do this?
But I just need you to hear this last part because it's not my fault. He tried to pay for a membership and then their machine was down, and we went there like 3 times, and they wasn't able to deal with this. The machine wasn't working every time we went. So he just kind of stopped talking about it for a minute. And he keeps saying we're going to go back to get the membership. So he's going to get me the membership and I'm going to go. But the problem is I don't have a car. It's a mess right now, but I'm going to get a car in a couple of months.
You don't need a car, ma'am. All you need is a good pair of tennis shoes. There's no excuse for that. There's no damn excuse for that, ma'am. Let's just get past the bull crap. There's no excuse for that. There isn't. You're just being lazy and just understand you're going to look up one day and that man is going to be gone and you're going to be boo-hooing and singing the blues and it's going to be what it is. It was totally and completely avoidable. There was no reason for that. There was really no reason for that. So right now you're wasting your time because understand you've been so used to being sedentary and lazy that for you now it's easier to do that than it is to change. And this is the real reason why men and people for that matter tend to leave other folks behind no matter how, quote, nice you are or whatever. If you have stagnated and you've refused to change, their life is moving on and you've gotten comfortable where you are. Just understand at this point now, this is just evolution going to take over. This isn't even romance or a relationship. This is just natural selection. That's it. This is evolution.
I needed to hear it. I did.
So right now, you are set in your ways. The real reason that men don't fool with females over the age of 30 is by the time you all get over the age of 30, you're set in your ways. You're set in your ways. You will not change. You make up excuses. You see, just like you want that man, you don't want to hear his excuses about why bills ain't getting paid, money ain't getting spent, life's not changing. You don't want to hear his excuses. You expect him to have answers because that is what demonstrates to you that he has competence. Well, guess what? As a female, we don't want to hear your excuses either. We expect you to give us results and answers because that's what demonstrates competence. And what you're saying is, I want to sit here and squat on your front porch, but I don't want to be competent.
Okay.
So like I say, and it may already be too late. I don't know. What I am going to say is every day that he sticks around, if I were you, I would be pedal to the metal to resolve these things. Because you got white women, Latinas, Asians all over your damn state. Every time I go there, whether it's New York City or upstate, it doesn't matter where it is. Every time I go there, Albany, Westchester, Spring Valley, you name it. Every time I go up there, baby, they know what the hell they're doing. They're walking around the marinas and every damn thing else. You know why? Because they understand white men enforce it. If she doesn't keep up, she is out of here. She's just going to wake up one day with no husband. And what y'all have gotten used to as black women, you've gotten used to abusing black men. Well, we the best they can do's, and, you know, Becky might sit up here and do something to them, so they ain't really got no choice but to say with me here, let me go ahead and splay. Okay, you're not competitive, and there's nothing sexy or attractive to a man. There's nothing sexy or attractive to a competitive man about being with a defeated female. And you will be nice, and you will be congenial, and it will probably bother him when he has to replace you. But these are decisions that you are making now.
Whew. Yeah. I'm the problem. I know it. And that's what I was worried that you was going to say that. I knew it, but I guess I really needed to hear you say it. And
I suggest you get to work, ma'am. And by the way, losing weight is 80% what you eat. It isn't even exercise regimen. Although that's important because you want to make sure you tone yourself because you don't want to just drop a bunch of weight and then be looking sloppy. But the majority of it is controlling what the hell you're eating. If it came in a box or a bag, you already know you're screwing up. So no, you all need to change your habits. Because if mama's fat as you are, I know what the kids are doing. And understand something. A man is never going to gravitate to a female who she's fat and sloppy and showing him that she's going to give him fat, sloppy kids. He's not going to invest in that. I ain't even went off on the kids yet, but baby, he's not going to invest in that. So your father sent you here for a reason. But ma'am, it's time for you. All I'm going to say is this is the last train leaving for you.
Can I ask you one last question, Jason?
Yes.
He keeps talking about kids and like he really wants kids real bad. And I'm like, well, I think we should be married first. But it's like, I know I don't have the right to demand that of him since I didn't marry my baby daddy. So it's like I want to hold off on kids, but he wants kids sooner than later when we move in. We're supposed to move in together in a few months. So should I give him kids? Because he wants children. And I'm like, I know I got to take care of myself.
If he's not going to marry you, no. You do not have children with somebody you're not married to. Because the connection between the man and the children is no stronger than his connection to the woman. And if a man's talking about having kids without having a marriage, he's telling you, I don't really fool with you like that.
And he's been married before, but
okay,
divorced.
If a man says he wants to have children but doesn't want to marry you, what he's saying is, I don't really fool with you like that.
Ooh. This just get worse. Okay.
Ladies, y'all need to pull your heads out your rumps. The bottom line is you all know better than that. If the last men who got children with you and didn't marry you, you saw how it turned out. The future's not going to be any different. Men communicate what they value. If he's not offering to marry you, but he's talking about children, he's letting you know, yeah, I want to reproduce myself, but I don't really want to be tied or shackled to you.
But do I have that right to demand that? Can I still demand that even though
No, you don't. No. Okay, you do not demand it. Your accomplishments are what demand it. If you are of significant enough value, you ain't got to demand it. The man is demanding it of you. Get this through your head. He's not demanding to marry you because he thinks he can do better. Now, the problem is he's been laying up with you so long, he's being seduced into the idea of having children. But the bottom line is, baby, his reptilian brain is telling him his body is doing one thing, but his mind is telling him, yeah, by the way, we ain't marrying this. We are not going to give ourselves a permanent connection, a legal connection to her. So that's a bunch of talk going on. But no, you are not to have children with him at all if he's not going to marry you. And and we're not going on gonna marry you. If you are not already his wife, you do not have children with him. He's telling you what he's gonna do. Furthermore, if he's been married before and been to prison, baby, he would think he ain't got no problem sitting up here getting you pregnant and then out he goes. Because we're used to seeing that behavior from females. Now we're seeing an increasing number of males who've been raised by single moms emulating the same behavior. Let me get my genetics over here because she's a nice chick. And then let me go see if I can get me a badass broad somewhere.
Because my baby daddy stepped up after we broke up. He completely upgraded. When he was with me, it was struggle. Now he upgraded and his girl is slim and trim. She living.
Yeah, do you see what I mean? And history is about to repeat itself.
Woo!
So what I'm saying, baby, is you don't really inspire men to be competitive. You're nice, you're congenial, but you do not inspire a man in the most competitive city in the world. But you're not inspiring a man to want to get out there and compete. Not for you. So you need to start becoming competitive so that you start inspiring the men around you to actually want to compete, but you ain't giving them nothing to compete for. If the prize he's going to get for going out here and competing against all these millionaires and billionaires is to come home to a 5'5" jelly donut, okay, man, if you think that's going to make a man competitive, that just shows how lowly you really think of black men.
No, I don't think that at all about black men.
Okay, but your actions show something different.
You're correct. You're correct. 100,000.
You telling us don't listen to what you're doing. Listen to the words you say. No, we're watching what you're doing.
Right. You're right. I know. You're right. You're right. I needed this, and I appreciate it so much, Jason. Thank you.
I suggest you get to work
now.
Thank you for giving us a call here tonight. And especially a big shout out to everybody who has contributed to tonight's program, either on PayPal, CashApp, or Super Chat as well. So thank you very much for your support there. I appreciate that. My man Richard Green and D. Cunningham there, by the way. I mean, the link for the patron I think you're asking about is in the link of the description. So definitely you can go there and sign up for that as well. Planning on doing a program here tomorrow on patrons, so we can go ahead and flesh out some more things here. More dark arts coming. Let me get caller from area code 562. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Jamar from Long Beach, California.
Jamar from Long Beach, what's on your mind?
What's up, man? I just want to say, first and foremost, thank you for all your support. You've been helping me out tremendously. Really appreciate that. And then I wanted to say, I've just seen over time how demanding a lot of these women are. Some of the stuff you said about, like, the heart of the woman has lived, the more demanding they are. Like, single moms I've dated have had some of the worst. Like, they were so delusional. They want me to be fit, have my money, and I have my game airtight, but then they'd be out of shape, can't cook, they can't make basic dinner reservations. They can never hold up their end of the bargain. I've seen it time and time again. I don't mess with those type of females anymore, but being out here, I've just seen the delusion. I've seen how they demand so much that they never demand for themselves. A lot of them never want to. They're just not at that level where the guy they want, they're not even at that level. Sorry, I'm being wordy.
Now, let me find out here. How long have you lived there in Long Beach?
About 26 years. No, I'm sorry, 29 years.
Okay, how old are you now?
35.
Okay, so you came there when you're about 7 years old or so. So definitely, like I say, I mean, when you're in an area like that, the one thing I would have to say here is that if you're really browsing through single moms like that, I kind of got some questions here, bruh. Do you have any children?
Yes, I have a son.
Okay, so basically that's where you're at. Now, I'm not going to blame you for that necessarily, but what you are finding out is that single moms don't want to date single parents. That's the first thing. What they're constantly doing is trying to make up for where they've been. I've had a number of single moms who have contacted me and told me that, you know, what they heard from me was a motivation for that. It's like, oh, I need to do better than my baby daddy or whatever. So what they do is they go off and have kids by a bum, or they go and have kids by some jackass that they were sitting up here freaking around with for fun and games. And then after that blows up in their face, then they go looking for somebody serious. And when they go looking for somebody serious, the first thing they do is start making all kinds of demands. Demands that they never made on the guys they were with before. All of a sudden, she wants to play grown-up. And she starts making serious demands on everybody after that. So let me get this straight. The guy who you ran into a ditch with, you didn't demand anything of him. It was just fun and games, and we could be a couple of overgrown teenagers. But now you come, every guy after that, you're sitting up here telling them what they gotta do. Coming in the door, by the way. It isn't even you get a grace period. It's coming in the door. Oh, you got to be mature and ready. So like I say, the first thing I would tell you there, bro, is in that regard, that doesn't really work for the fellas. It really, really doesn't work for you all. It really doesn't. Let me find out here. What do you do for a living at 35?
I'm a senior sales engineer in healthcare.
Okay, so we're still waiting to get our money where it needs to be, and that's really what's that really is.
You've looked over my pay stubs already, Jason.
Okay. If your pay stubs,
I've sent you my paycheck stubs.
Okay, if your stubs are concurrent with the way you're moving, we're not going to have that problem. So what that's telling me is something is not in sync where it needs to be. Because here's the issue, especially in California. If you only got one kid, that's usually not going to be a problem unless you have an attitude issue or unless the money ain't moving right. So if you are a single father, but you're living the lifestyle of a working class single dad, that's going to be an issue.
Can I say something, Jason?
Yes.
So I got a good one. I was just talking about in retrospect that, like, the thing that you said, especially where it's like women would be messing around with a bum, and then they'll let him get away with all kinds of stuff, and they'll get with the serious guy, and then they have all these demands. When you said that, maybe a year ago, I was just mind blown because I lived that and I saw it firsthand. I just wanted to say that I've seen it firsthand here in Southern California. Like, once again, I got a good one. I'm moving good. My money's right. My savings right. Where I need to be. But I just wanted to say that, man, you're spot on. I always wanted to tell you that. Thing about single moms.
I wanted you guys to get your weight up and get yourselves together specifically so you wouldn't be subject to that, because it does seem antithetical. You would think that somebody who has no bargaining leverage, you would think that somebody in a position where they have no bargaining leverage would be the most acquiescent person in the room. And what you really find out is that in this day and age, they are so inundated and saturated with coping mechanisms. And there's a whole different program of its own Right now, they are drowning in coping mechanisms. Now, these coping mechanisms have completely ripped their psyches to shreds. But they've got coping mechanisms from kids to pets to cell phones to whatever they want to do to divert and distract themselves with. They're swimming in coping mechanisms, fake lashes, fake hair, social media. All these things have converged to give them this alternate reality where they're basically stepping outside of the real world every other second. So it becomes very, very difficult for someone like you to make a real impression on somebody who is carrying around, a Santa Claus bag full of coping mechanisms. You've got individuals, they're literally trying to compare you to a dog or some kids or a cell phone or a job. So all these things are stuff that they have packed their lives with to be able to cope with the lack of having a producer with them. So by the time you meet them, you gotta hack and slice your way through all these pre-existing conditions. That's not just 2 or 3 kids she got. Those are 2 or 3 pre-existing conditions. She's used those to insulate herself from the loneliness that she has from not being claimed by anybody. That's not just an overtime she's doing. That is filling the empty days, minutes of her life to be able to cope with the lack of purpose. That's not just a pet that she has. That is the male companion that she has. You're used to seeing old men do this in the mountains somewhere. We got females in the cities now emulating mountain man behavior. So there's not really going to be a whole lot you can do. By the time you meet them, it's already a done deal. It's already a done deal. And what really deceives guys, I guess a lot of the time, what deceives you all is that there are varying degrees of severity. They're not all operating at the same level of severity. It fluctuates. But the end result is going to be the same. I don't know if you feel like getting dropped from 10 feet or getting dropped from 20 feet, but it's going to be equally uncomfortable no matter what happens. So I'm definitely glad to hear that, you got that straightened out and everything. And I gave you all that advice because that is the cure for it. But certainly, no. The fact that she has no leverage, no bargaining power, the fact that her situation is absolutely vulnerable and she's defenseless, that is not going to make them more compliant. That's actually made them more demanding because in their mind, the fact that they are more needy is the reason why they need to be more demanding. The fact that she has less is the reason that she needs to demand more than her 20-year-old childless counterparts. That's the logic that they're operating under. They're not actually looking at you and your desire or willingness to accommodate any of her demands. She's simply looking at, this is what I need, this is what I gotta have, and I didn't do this before, so I need to do it now. And yes, the older they get, the more arrogant they get. But it's not an arrogance born of any actual accomplishments. It is an arrogance born of necessity. And more than a little bitterness. More than a little bitterness. If y'all remember, I did my program about the single mom boot camp and whatnot. By the time you meet them, like if you're dealing with a chick who's, 30 years old and she got 2 or 3 kids, she's been messed over 2 or 3 times. Or at least she tells herself she was messed over. In reality, she was a willing participant. But she tells herself she got messed over. So when she meets y'all, it's about get him before he can get me. Imagine being in a relationship with somebody who's approaching you saying, let me get him before he can get me. So the gloves are off. There's no way you can build anything there. So hopefully, like I say, I hope things work out well for you in that regard, and that's I'm glad to hear that's something you can use.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you, man. Take care.
Thank you for giving us a call here tonight. Like I say, definitely, it doesn't matter where you're at. The situation is going to be pretty much the same anywhere you go there. And yes, that's another unrealistic expectation. I was talking about this last night here as well. Ladies, as you get older here, you don't have any leverage. I'm being just totally honest with you. This isn't me. Reality shouldn't be something that you take huge offense at, no matter how unpleasant it is. Baby, you can't be 40, 42, 46, 3 kids in tow in a damn, Red Ryder wagon and talking about what you're going to get. As you get older, you lose your leverage. Apparently, they also lose sight or grasp of the fact that they've lost their leverage. You don't have leverage anymore. So telling yourself that you're going to be 35, 36, 40, 42, 44, and that your leverage has actually increased, this is delusion. That is unrealistic. It's unrealistic. It's like I was talking about here the other day when I was saying that, it is one thing for Kim Kardashian to sit up here and you can yell about Kanye all you want to, Kim. That is the last man who is ever going to walk in your door and buy you 5 Maybach SUVs. He is the last one who is going to spend $1 million on you. You're not going to get another one. He is the only one. He is the last one who valued you to that level. Oh yeah, you hadn't had any children yet either. You hadn't had any children yet. He's the last one. But if you're sitting up here getting high on your own supply and taking a look at yourself on Instagram with your Photoshop pictures and telling yourself I'm still a bad broad at that level and whatnot, knowing these pictures are Photoshop, take a look at those calves, take a look at those legs. That is obviously Photoshop. She ain't never been that like that. But if you're telling yourself that this is who you really are because you are desperate and demanding to hold on what you had, you're going to also tell yourself there's another Kanye coming. No, there isn't. This is what you qualify for. Things have changed. You qualify for some goofball, but this is what you qualify for. And you've got unrealistic expectations because you are looking in the rear view mirror, but you don't actually qualify for anything else. You don't. Evelyn Lozado thought it was going to work out for her too, and it doesn't. Now you have a gang of kids and no man. But it hasn't stopped her from wishing she could get that kind of attention still. At 46. Still wishing, still hoping that there's yet one more ticket to ride the train. You've got unrealistic expectations. A man who is walking in the door today, all he sees is you and a bunch of liabilities. You don't see yourself the way you really are. You've got unrealistic expectations. For men are not allowed to have unrealistic expectations. The world devastates a man who has unrealistic expectations. We're not allowed to have that. We're not allowed to have unrealistic expectations. We're not allowed to make it up as we go along. We're not allowed to deny reality. As men, we have to accept it. But you're not going to sit up here and wake up one morning and there's going to be yet one more Kanye sitting out there somewhere who can't wait to go $1 million in hock behind you. That's the real thing I want you all to understand. Ladies, if you're sitting up out here and you are an overweight single mom, or you're sitting up here looking as bummy as you can be, ladies, it's not going to happen that way. That fella who got you pregnant, that's the high watermark. Yes, that feels awful. That feels terrible. Hey, he was great enough to get pregnant by. You might not be married to the man, but you're married to the decision. Let me tell you about another unrealistic expectation, ladies. You want to hear about another unrealistic expectation? Another unrealistic expectation is that you can see yourself to retirement. Another unrealistic expectation is that you can see yourself to retirement and that your psyche and your spirit and your mindset as you know it is going to survive the trip. That is a lie. You can attempt to make this trip and make this journey, but your psyche and your sensibilities and your mental health as you know it are going to be sacrificed as a result. I've shown you all this before. If you're a female telling yourself that you would be living your best life, let's understand something. After, in my case, it's been decades of analyzing this. The numbers bear themselves out. All we have is a bunch of chicks in a bunch of debt, posting pictures on Instagram. That's all we have. We don't have anybody who's actually escaped the asylum. It's like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. There isn't anybody who's actually gotten out. Just a bunch of people fantasizing about leaving. If you're a female who wants to simply maintain a life of $50,000 a year, if you are able to get a certified financial planner to be able to get you a 5% rate of return, which is pretty damn good. If you don't want to deplete the principal, then you would need at least $1 million. And if you want to be living off $100,000 a year into your retirement, you're going to need $2 million. But wait a minute, that probably isn't going to be enough because technically speaking, remember that the market fluctuates. So you will not consistently get a 5% rate of return. The market fluctuates. Remember when the pandemic hit, the market lost over 50% of its value in 24 hours. So in reality, if you are looking to keep up with that $100,000 a year without depleting the principal, you need a lot more than that. In other words, you need, not you want, not it's really cool, not it really be groovy to have. You have a necessity for a man. That's your backup plan. It is unrealistic. Ladies, listen to me. This is pie in the sky-ism. It is absolutely unrealistic of you to sit up here and daydream to yourselves that you're going to be able to carry this load on your own. You are not. You know why? Because women are absurdly expensive. And you all get more expensive as you get older. Because you never let go of wanting what it is you want. If a chick wants a Chanel bag when she's 25, she's going to want that damn thing when she's 75. She's not going to let that go. Take a look at Jada Pinkett Smith and her mom. Only one of them actually grew up with a certified rich man. The other one didn't. But guess what? Both of them are just as expensive. Jada and her mama are equally expensive. Beyonce and her mother, both equally expensive. Women are expensive. They get more expensive as they get older. But for them, they don't notice the change and they don't notice the expense. Because they're not footing it. Until they are. And then once they are, what they realize is, damn, I can't make this happen. So what I need to do is I need to ally and partner with a fellow who can make up this tremendous shortfall. But there's only a limited number of them. And unless you are among the baddest of the bad, you're not really going to be able to qualify and hold on to that either. But let's be very, very clear. It doesn't matter what they do for a living. It doesn't matter where they're at. They still want to have that fairy tale ending. They still want to have that pedestal. And these are unrealistic. It's unrealistic. You would be far better off seeing if you can find a workhorse who is going to dedicate themselves to you. That's the thing I've been talking about. Your time would be far better spent finding a man who is willing to be the workhorse for you. Going forward into the 20th century and the 21st century here, ladies, I want to give you a very clear perspective and a very clear vision of what you can expect What you are looking for here, if you want to know if you got your ticket to ride, if you got your ticket to leave the casino, if you got your winning lottery ticket, your winning lottery ticket is going to be the guy who can take 25% of the load off your shoulders. If you are with a fella who is able to alleviate 25% of that load, you got a winning ticket. If you're with a guy who can alleviate 50% or more, you don't have a winning ticket. You got 3 winning tickets. Very, very few of you are going to have a guy who can take everything off of you. If you, in your case, you don't have a winning ticket, you got a damn unicorn. Complete with the horn and the rainbow and the glitter. That's what you have. That's the reality. That's the reality. So when you sit here and talk down about the FedEx guy, you sit here and talk down about the Amazon driver, you sit here and talk down about the warehouse worker or the truck driver, you sit here and talk down about them. How dare you? You haven't looked in the mirror to see what you are. You're completely out of touch with where you are. You're fantasizing that you're of a much higher value than you are, and it doesn't seek in, and they don't really actually accept the reality until they've aged out of the game and they're no longer eligible for anything. The other thing to keep in mind here is that, ladies, if you want to destroy a female, drop her into an endless, relentless working environment, and you have destroyed her. She might as well never have lived. She is going to come out of that situation and she will never be this. Well, if she comes out of the situation, she will never be the same. The reason that men today are not really eager to marry females today is because they have been desensitized and they have been assimilated into their job environment, and they now no longer identify themselves outside of it, which is why the first caller tonight there, Summer Rain, talking about women who own a business or whatnot, the things that make you a good employee, or even the things that make you good at being self-employed, those do nothing for you to enhance your value to a man as a companion. These are unrealistic expectations. And the truth of the matter is that most of you, M-O-S-T, we're not being honest with your asses. Most of you will fail. That's the damn truth of it. Most of you will fail. Jason, what do you mean by most? I mean over 80%. It is not a guess. It is practically a scientific mathematical certainty. If I told you that there was a car that you could buy that had an 80% failure rate, would you ever purchase that car? Ladies, if I told you that I was going to sell you a car, but that car that I was going to sell you had an 80% failure rate, would you ever purchase it? Would you ever buy that car if I told you, by the way, it's got an 80% failure rate? 80% of them that we sell fail. Would you ever actually buy it? Is there anything that I could do that I would be able to convince you to purchase this? Could I lower the interest rate? Could I lower the monthly payments? Could I get you a rebate? Could I put a new coat of wax on it? Could I sell you an extended warranty? Not give you, sell you an extended warranty. If I told you that I was going to sell you a car, but it has an 80% rate of failure, you'd be a damn fool to do that. But the problem is, in the current environment right now, Women telling themselves they're going to take themselves to retirement and has an over 80% failure. Go watch PBS's The Retirement Gamble. It's bad for men. It's worse for women. It's bad for men, but it's worse for women. This is a monster that doesn't work for you. It's very funny and very cute to have your little call center jobs, which is what most of you are doing. You've got your little customer service jobs for the ones that haven't been outsourced. Or you might go get your little LPN license. That all sounds great and cute and wonderful. You all don't even recognize the changes that are happening within you. They're destroying your psyche and tearing it to shreds. You don't even realize that you're being robbed and destroyed of your womanhood. You're becoming a wonderful LPN. You're just becoming a lousy woman. You've become a wonderful receptionist, although in many cases you ain't even doing that. You're being a wonderful receptionist. You're a lousy wife. You're a very dutiful worker on your job, but you have become useless as a man's companion. While you're telling yourself that the man who has the pick of the litter of any female that he wants, you will be his preferred choice. But you've already been robbed of those womanly attributes before you ever met him. Or you started surrendering them after you got there. A man who has got himself together is not going to shackle himself to life to a female who is still in process. Nor will he wait. Because it's not going to happen. It is unrealistic to tell a man who has his whole act together that he needs to wait. And over 80% of you are going to fail at this if you attempt to pull this on your own, which is why I have attempted to bring on to you the brutal light of day, and to tell you, ladies, most of you will never be wives. Let us see what we can do to make you companions or side chicks. Let's see what we can do to make that happen. Because you've got unrealistic expectations. I've got females who are in their late 30s, 40s, 50s. They 5'5" and 200 something pounds. And telling me, I could get married. Are you certain? I suggest you step on it. If you're actually eligible, I suggest you step on it. But let's be very, very clear. As a woman, you don't feel very secure if you are, quote unquote, being taken care of by a guy who is struggling. You don't feel very secure. So even if you do marry him, you're constantly going to be psychologically holding out hope that you can trade him in for somebody else. You've got unrealistic expectations. You all do understand the failure rate of first-time marriages is high. The failure rate of second marriages is even higher. Ladies, if you leave your first marriage, the chances that the second one is going to work are practically none. Practically none. Practically none. Keep that in mind. In the chat room, Real Smoke needs to give us a call. The telephone number is on your screen here. 646-787-1933. I was going to go ahead and wrap things up, but I think I'll hang out a little bit longer here. But Real Smoke needs to go ahead and give us a call. You've got 2 minutes. The reason why I created the business was because I was tired of individuals lying their way through these things. I was tired of people talking about a bunch of crap they didn't know anything about. I was tired of people saying things that they could not actually quantify. They'll just say anything but they're not actually going to be able to stand behind what they're saying and say, okay, here's the proof that what I just said actually works. And I'm the only person so far who's willing to sit up here and say, you know what? Whatever I say, that's actually what it is. That's actually what it is. Let me get caller from area code 919. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Jay from Durham.
Jay from Durham, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I was just hearing you speak earlier, and, you know, I just feel very frustrated because, you know, I feel like my wife is not trying hard enough, and I'm trying to just, you know, stick it in there, you know, and I just feel like I'm missing out, you know. I've been with her for a while now, and quite frankly, she's the only woman I've been with, you know, and I'm 36. And
haven't I talked to you before, Jay?
Yes, sir, you have.
Okay, have you made the necessary changes, Jay?
Well, you know, I have made.
Okay, the short answer is no, Jay. You haven't.
Yes, you're right, sir. Is no. You know.
So you still got the same complaints. So, brother, you will know when you have completed the changes because everything around you is going to respond accordingly. But you can't make demands if you haven't altered yourself. You don't try to change your wife. Don't try to change your job. Don't try to change other people. You change yourself. And then the environment around you will have no choice. It is compelled to change for you. But you're going to have to complete this journey. You can't half-ass it. You can't halfway through it. No idle threats are allowed here. You're going to have to actually go all the way.
Well, you know, Jason, I feel like I have changed, but I feel like she hasn't changed with me.
How old are you, Jay?
36, sir.
Okay, Jay. How many females of a superior caliber to your wife, and I'm going to say this to you directly, how many females are approaching you that you would say, you know what, I would leave my wife today for her. Not on some my wife is so bad, but this chick has so many pluses. It's a no-brainer that if I had it to do over again, I would be with her instead of my wife. How many times has that happened to you in the last 2 years?
None that I would be very enamored with. None.
Okay, the answer is none. So what I'm telling you is I'm not guessing my way through this, and I'm not giving you theory or hyperbole. What I am saying is that when you actually, there's a response, there is a specific response that females who are an 8 or a 10 receive. There is a specific response, a specific reaction that 8s and 10s get. And they don't have to fight for it. It's not something they have to theorize about, and they don't have to question their place or their position in the hierarchy. So what I'm saying is that if you as a man are not getting a certain type of reaction and response from females, there's a reason for that, sir. And until you're getting that response and that reaction, nothing that you're doing matters.
Well, I'm not trying to get a response. I'm just...
Okay, but it's not about trying to, sir. What I'm saying is that if your stuff is together, you're going to get that response without trying. That's my point. It's not about, I'm trying to run behind my wife's back. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that, have you accepted that your wife may be the best you can do?
I don't think that's the best I can do.
Okay, it's not about what you think. It's about what you know. Now, if you are not getting offers or solicitations or flirtations from females of a clearly higher, more desirable caliber than your wife, then guess what, sir? No matter what you might think, the realities of the sexual marketplace are that she's the best you can do.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now, that can be a tough pill to swallow, but if you're not getting that type of feedback from the women in general, then you're going to have to accept the reality. That is, the women are letting you know what you can get.
Mm. Okay. Well, I mean, it's not like, you know, I mean, because I have gotten feedback. I shut them out.
Nothing
you know,
no, sir, you haven't gotten anything that was clearly head and shoulders above your woman. You have not. If you did, we would not be having this conversation.
I guess.
Yeah, this isn't about, well, it's negotiable, well, it's kind of nuanced. No, it's not. If you are clearly head and shoulders above her, then the females who will be talking to you would be clearly head and shoulders above her.
Okay.
So right now, you don't like the environment that you're in, but you have not distinguished yourself to the point that you are clearly outside of that environment. That has not happened.
I mean,
when
also,
you get
there,
you know, there won't be any question when you actually get there, because when or if you actually get there, you won't have to have all this debating.
So pretty much what you're saying, that I really just need to work on myself, self-improvement, and pretty much work on the errors that I have within me, you know, and things will pretty much be, the outcomes will be better. I will receive better outcomes.
Hustle respects hustle. If you're on a higher level, people will treat you that way. If you are, and the women will come to you. If you're not on a higher level, the women ain't gonna see nothing to run for. And it doesn't matter whether you're married or not. Nobody's gonna take a chance. There's nothing that you're gonna really want to risk where you at on something that's gonna be too questionable. Well, guess what? She looks at you the same way. So you're asking a female to bet her future on you. Just understand, you are getting the caliber of females who would be willing to bet their future on you. So what I'm saying is, if you don't like the results, that is your evidence that you have not put in enough work to get a different class of results.
Well, I'm definitely trying my best. You know, I'm putting in work. You know, I just feel that, you know, sometimes she take advantage. You know,
of course. You don't have any other options. Like you don't have, no, she's taking advantage because you don't have any other options. And she knows it. She's taking advantage because she knows there is no penalty for messing with you. That's what it is. It's not what you're telling yourself in your head right now. Women take advantage when they feel that the man is helpless and vulnerable and has no other options. They don't take advantage when they know you have options and that you will exercise them. They don't do that. People only mess with somebody that think they can get away with it. They don't mess with somebody that they know they can't. And if they do, then it gets dealt with quickly. But they're only going to do that if they think you're going to stick around or that you can't go anywhere.
Yeah, I just feel like I allowed this for so long now, and it's just
time to get to work, isn't it, Jay?
It's irreversible.
No, well, I'm not going to. It's certainly irreversible with that attitude. It is. It certainly is. All I'm going to say is all the changes will start with you. All of them start with you. But if the same old Jay keeps walking in the door, then you're going to get the same old results. The problem is not your wife. The problem is not your circumstances. Your wife and your circumstances are a product of you.
Yeah.
And when you change, then those other things are going to change too. because they must.
Yeah, you definitely like Mr. Brown. And you tell the truth how it is, and that's why I respect you, listen to you all the time. I'm definitely trying to work on myself and just keep improving.
Okay, well,
there's
a phrase I don't like is I'm trying. Yoda said it best in Star Wars. Do or do not do. There is no try. Especially over something you have 100% control over, which is yourself. There is no try. If he's still, quote, trying, that's the problem. Become the man or don't become the man. Those are your only options. But there is no I'm trying to become. No, you either become or you don't. That's it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. That's another thing to keep in mind there, fellas. You know, we talk about unrealistic expectations. A male unrealistic expectation is that females are going to have mercy on you for being a sad sack. No, guys. No. Females do not have mercy on the sad sack. Females become more sadistic and more punishing of a sad sack. Females do not have mercy on you for being a loser. They don't. Females don't see anything about you being a loser that they want to have mercy on. Females become even worse. Females punish failure. They are biologically predisposed to punish failure. As far as a female is concerned, if she has given you her time, she has given you a tremendously valuable asset. And if you squander it, then you have made yourself eligible for an unlimited amount of punishment. As far as she's concerned, that is just an equal repayment. So this idea that, well, if I sit here and get humble and quiet and bow down and, hey, baby, do it got to be like that? She's going to take it easy. Females are not predisposed to do that. They are predisposed to punish failure. They are not predisposed to reward or be sympathetic. They're not. That is why, despite what they tell you, guys who are soft and sensitive, she'll tolerate that for a little bit, but you sitting up here trying to be her great big huggy bear? No, she doesn't really take comfort in that. She takes comfort in you having the things that she doesn't have. You can be huggy bear about 5% of the time. The other 95%, she's looking for Genghis Khan. No matter what she tells you. When she starts seeing that Huggy Bear shows up more than Genghis Khan does, she's like, okay, this guy's going to be too easily broken because you remind her of herself. And it is unrealistic of you to expect a female to tolerate failure. Remember what I taught you all about unspoken female assumptions. Females have an unspoken assumption that simply your presence in her life means that her life is going to get better. She'll never say those words. I'm articulating words that she never will. She will never say the words, you being here means my life is supposed to get exponentially better. But that is what every female assumes, is that simply because you as the man are in her life, that her life is supposed to improve. And when you fail to accomplish that, then there will be negative consequences. Now, that doesn't mean that she gets to wild out and be a fool, but just understand, if you don't make it very clear that there will be elevation, that's a problem. And if she does mess up and she miscalculates the fact that she had a producer and whatnot, then you get to yank the resources and now she's got to lump it. So there's a penalty if she's wrong. But your job is to make sure that she's wrong. If it's very clear that she's right, understand something, she's going to punish you for it. And it is unrealistic of a man to sit up here and think that a female is going to watch him fail year after year, watch him be stagnant year after year, and yet she's going to give him the exact same level of compliance and comfort. No, she won't. No, she isn't. This is a lie that the fellas tell themselves. This is not actually something that occurs. There's a whole bunch of fellas out there, they're talking about they want a high-class female, but in reality, they're looking for a high-class female with hood rat standards. And eventually that blows up in your face. But to the ladies out there, understand, moving forward here, it's going to be a brutal environment. It is going to be a brutal environment and unrealistic expectations. Unrealistic expectations are going to be met with heartache and heartbreak from here on in. If you are new here to the business, welcome to the program that laid the foundation upon which all of these red pill, MGTOW, high value posers and frauds are going to steal and rip off everything they'll be saying next week. You heard it here tonight. Click that red subscribe button. Click that yellow notification bell. Join us when we are here. And if you haven't joined our Patreon, you want to go ahead and take a look at that as well. I'm planning on doing a program here tomorrow. So once again, you all have been loving my exclusives over there. So we're going to be doing that again here real soon. Can't wait to go ahead and chop it up with you all on an epic level. We can talk one-on-one about whatever you need to discuss here, so join us for that as well. We take it to a whole deeper level in that regard. I want to thank you all for joining us here tonight. Thank you to everyone who has contributed on Streamlabs, on CashApp, PayPal, or Super Chat. Thank you very much for that as well. And new programs here are coming. Some of these subjects I talked about, we're going to be talking about here before. We're going to be discussing that as well. So all of you need to join us for that. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of The Business. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, Mr. Jason Black. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, handle your business or your business will handle you.